Hello and welcome to our WWE 2026 series here on the Random Wrestling Review. We're, of course, using TEW to play through WWE in 2026, but with a slight difference, a twist, if you will. And I recommend if you haven't gone and watched the first 3 episodes in this series, please do that first and then come back here and carry on watching this, because I think that gives a load of really good context. But in summary, the very clear basic points that you need to understand is that this is now a touring company. It's no longer a company that runs television shows week to week and then builds to a pay-per-view. They run an entire tour and then build to that pay-per-view. And then the second part of it is that we have 2 rosters, but those 2 rosters are men and women. So the men have their own roster, the women have their own roster, and they're basically existing in isolation from one another. And today we're here to bring you the Women's Tag Team Classics. We've just done the Men's Royal Rumble. We're now on to the Women's Tag Team Classic Tournament tour that happened in February. The men's tour has already started for their February show, which is going to be Saturday night's main event, which I'll bring you in the next episode. But this one will all be about the women's tour that I've just run through. And I say I've just run through because actually I've even done the final accidentally. So what I did is I clicked on the button to go to the next day. It just happened to the next thing was the booking of that show, and I couldn't go back. So I've recorded what happened in the final, and now I'm going to go through the tour that led up to that final. When you come to see this, hopefully everything will be put back in the right order and you'll see the tour first, then the big show. But that might mean that this is a little more awkward than it usually would be, so I apologize for that. And to start with, I've got to quickly click onto this and then click down here to ensure that you don't see the results of the Tag Classic final, which is obviously up here. So we're going to go through what happened in the Women's Tag Classic, starting with who the teams were, actually. So we've got Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez as one of the 2 teams that will be representing Judgment Day in this tournament. Cora Jade has been re-signed to the company as part of this tournament, so she's one of the most recent signings I've made. Natalia and Lash Legend are also a team. We've got Damage Control, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai. So again, we've re-signed Dakota Kai, and she's come back in, and she's teaming with Io Sky for this tournament. Jordan Grace and Ivy Nile have been paired together, and actually it turned out that they were such a decent pairing that we've actually turned them into a regular tag team called the Powerhouse. We've got the Kabuki Warriors, as you might imagine, and the Green Regime. We've got the returning Iconics, a team I've always long since admired for their just general charisma and fun kind of nature. They've obviously got some questions in terms of in-ring, but I was like, let's just bring them back. Big fan of theirs, and we need tag teams for this tournament. Perhaps the most random pairing of all, Tiffany Stratton and B-Fab are together for this tournament. Literally had nothing else, nobody else to put these 2 with, so I thought let's just chuck them together and we'll make something out of it. We've got Julia and Zelina Vega, Nia Jax and Candice LeRae, Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer, one of the big favourites for this tournament, Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross, another random team that I had to pull together because I wasn't sure who I was going to team with Ripley. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, the other Judgment Day pairing, and then Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, as well as the tag team champions at the time, Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. So, yeah, so this is what happened on the first night. We had all these various matches in terms of you can see them in front of you, the results. They've been on screen for long enough that I shouldn't have to go through them. The Iconics here returned to WWE with a pre-match heat-seeking promo, so they're kind of doing what they do best, which is winding up the crowd. Nia Jax boasts of her victory over Trish Stratus at Battleground, and also we had up here as Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross departed the arena, the Judgment Day arrive and they get into a confrontation and brawl. This is obviously to continue Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley's feud, as it were. That was day 1 in the tournament, and this is how the standings were after day 1, due to those matches. Not that we need to concentrate on that for too long, because obviously this is just the first set of matches, and I'll be bringing you the updated tables as we go through this. So next up, we had day 2 of this Women's Tag Classic. The Powerhouse defeated Tiffany Stratton and B-Fab. Charlotte Flair then cut a promo before her next match, where she said she wanted a rematch against Becky Lynch for the IC title after they drew at Battleground. Then Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair defeated the Green Regime in all of these matches are part of the Women's Tag Classic. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill got their second victory, defeating the Iconics. it was then announced that because Roxanne Perez had suffered an injury on the first night of this tournament, that Michin will stand in for her. So Michin was a stand-in for Roxanne Perez, and Cora Jade and Michin will continue on to represent that team. Effectively, they take their place that Roxanne Perez was previously in. And unfortunately, miscommunication between the two leads to the Kabuki Warriors getting the victory in that one. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defeated Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Natalia and Lash Legend defeated Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross by countout when Nikki Cross kind of drifted away from the ring as she was still in the middle of a match. And this is kind of an overall story we're telling with Nikki Cross at the moment. I don't think I've articulated it very well, but the idea is that basically she's lost. She's completely lost. She doesn't know where she is. She's obviously been part of the Wyatt Six, but now because of this, the split in the rosters, she now doesn't have anybody to guide her or to be around her. And so Alexa Bliss, who's also obviously on the women's roster, is been worried about her because they used to be tag team partners together. And of course, also Alexa Bliss has walked the Wyatt line in the past, and so she checks on Nikki Cross, um, you know, because Nikki Cross had been distracted by something that happened in the crowd. Then we had Damage Control defeat Julia and Zelina Vega, and Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer defeat Bayley and Lyra Valkyria in the main event. Some decent matches as we go through this. You'll probably see. You just keep an eye on the ratings. I don't need to go through them all with you. It'd be lots of numbers otherwise, and that wouldn't be very interesting. But the standings then for day two or after two rounds look like this. Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer up to 6 points, as with the Kabuki Warriors. And in the second group, Io Sky and Dakota Kai, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill also both up to 6 points. Obviously, I failed to mention, which I should have done right at the start, which you probably already would have figured out, that these tag teams are in two different groups, and these are the groupings. The winners of each group will go into the final of the Women's Tag Classic at that event. So then we move on to day three, and we have got Julia and Zelina Vega defeating Tiffany Stratton and B-Fab. The Green Regime overcame Cora Jade and Michin. And then after the match, Cora and Roxanne blamed Michin for their loss as there was more miscommunication between Jade and Michin. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defeat the Iconics. And after the match, Morgan brags that she and Raquel Rodriguez have 3 wins and Rhea has none. I think that's actually incorrect. I think they had 2, but never mind. That's what they did. The Kabuki Warriors defeated Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross in the next match. Rhea rages at Nikki Cross after the match because Nikki Cross again got distracted and it cost them. But then Becky comes out to stand up for her. Actually, that should be Alexa comes out to stand up for her. As you can tell, my notes for some of these things were not great. I was struggling a little bit here because there was just so much to remember, so many matches. We had to make sure everyone faced everyone correctly. Anyway, we'll all figure out in the end. The idea here is that Rhea rages at Nikki Cross after the match, but Alexa Bliss came out to stand up for her and kind of try to protect her as she's been doing all the way through. Nia Jax and Candice LeRae then defeated Damage Control in a pretty good match, 61 rated there. After the match, Nia Jax says she's the most dominant woman in WWE history and says she'll face anybody who dares, effectively issuing another open challenge. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria then defeated Natalia and Lash Legend. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill got their third victory in a row, defeating the Powerhouse. And Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer defeated Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss in the main event. Obviously, Flair and Bliss, the current tag champions, being defeated in this one. So that left the standings as per this. Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer and the Kabuki Warriors both on 9 points. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill on their own with 9 points in Group B. Trying to get through this as quick as I can, so apologies. We've got next Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair defeat Natalia and Lash Legend. Charlotte Flair tells Bliss that she cost them their last match in the tournament, and that's because during the main event of night 3, I should have said, Nikki Cross comes out to during the match and gets Alexa distracted, and therefore Charlotte's now telling Bliss that she cost them their last match in the tournament. Nia Jax and Candice LeRae defeat Tiffany Stratton and B-Fab. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross defeated Cora Jade and Michin. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill defeated Julia and Zelina Vega. Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer overcame the Green Regime. The Powerhouse defeated the Iconics. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria went to a time limit draw with the Kabuki Warriors, and then Damage Control defeated Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. So in terms of what that did for the tournament standings, Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer on 12 points, the Kabuki Warriors on 10, and Bayley and Lyra Valkyria on 7. That's following their draw. Meanwhile, Belair and Cargill are still undefeated with 12 points. Hot on their heels, of course, though, Io Sky and Dakota Kai. As I said there, Judgment Day have actually won only 2 of their first 4 matches. So that didn't work out so well in terms of what I was saying, but it still stands. I hold to it. Anyway, into day 5, the Iconics defeated Julia and Zelina Vega. Nikki Cross and Rhea Ripley overcame the Green Regime. Rhea Ripley then tells Liv Morgan in a promo that they now have the same amount of wins as one another, which is correct because they now have 2 each. Damage Control defeated Tiffany Stratton and B-Fab. Stratton and B-Fab yet to win a match. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria defeated Corey Jade and Michin with more issues between Jade and Michin. And again, after the match, they blamed her for the loss. But this time, Michin pushes back and pushes Cora Jade to the floor, not Nikki Cross. Goodness me, my note-taking was awful during this tour. The Powerhouse defeat Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Becky Lynch then cuts a promo before the next match saying that after they beat Charlotte and Bliss recently, they should get a tag team title shot. A good segment here of 70 for this one. They then, however, get beaten by Natalya and Lash Legend. Nia Jax and Candice LeRae overcome Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill by countout. First time they've lost a match, and Bianca Belair was actually the one who got counted out after she took a bad knock on the outside. After the match, AJ Lee makes a surprise appearance and tells Nia Jax that she accepts the open challenge at whenever that comes, and she will see her soon. And then Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair defeat the Kabuki Warriors in the main event, a very good match of 60. So, in terms of the standings, where does that leave us? Well, Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer have 12 points. The Kabuki Warriors and Bayley and Lyra Valkyria both have 10. And Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair are still in this with 9 points. Then we've got on the other group Bianca Belair and Jade Gargill and Io Sky and Dakota Kai both on 12 points. And then behind them on 9, we've got Nia Jax and Candice LeRae and the Powerhouse. So things starting to hot up in this tournament and these 2 groups. On day 6 of the tournament was quite a pivotal day of it all. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defeated Tiffany Stratton and B-Fab. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair defeated Cora Jade and Michin. After the match, Charlotte told Alexa Bliss that they can still win their group if she stays concentrated on the task at hand, obviously referencing Bliss's distraction by Nikki Cross in the past. Nia Jax then, before her match, says she will destroy AJ Lee when they finally meet each other. But the Iconics then defeat Nia Jax and Candice LeRae by stoppage because Candice LeRae had an injury going to this one and the Iconics took advantage of it and got the victory. The Green Regime defeated Natalya and Lash Legend. The Powerhouse defeated Julia and Zelina Vega. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross overcome Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. Damage Control beat Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. And this time after the match, because of some miscommunication, Bianca and Jade then argue over who was to blame as they left the ring. Finally, in the main event, the Kabuki Warriors defeat Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer. So what does that mean for the tables? Well, as you can see, Kabuki Warriors now have a 1-point lead going into the last round over Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer, and Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair are both on 12. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria can still mathematically win the group, but have 10 points and would need a lot of results to go in their favour for that to happen. Then in Group B, Io Sky and Dakota Kai have done all but confirm their place in the final of the tournament. They have 15 points. The Powerhouse and Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill could still catch them, but would need to win and hope Io Sky and Dakota Kai lost their last match. And that's where we are going into the final night of the tour. And here it is. Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defeated Julia and Zelina Vega. Liv Morgan then, in a promo afterwards, told Rhea Ripley she will be the next number 1 contender, as it's been announced that there will be a 4-way match at the Women's Tag Classic final, which will pit Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill against one another to determine who will be the number 1 contender and face Stephanie Vaquer in the main event of WrestleMania. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria then defeat the Green Regime. After the match, Bayley and Lyra speak to one another over the microphone and they vow to continue to team together after a strong showing in this Women's Tag Classic. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill overcome Tiffany Stratton and B-Fab to keep up their hopes of winning the tournament. Tiffany Stratton tells BFAB after the match that she is useless after the team suffer yet another loss. And also, Bianca and Jade shake hands and wish each other luck in the four-way at the Women's Tag Classic final that they're both a part of. Then before the next match, Cora Jade doesn't arrive to compete, and so Maxine Dupree takes her place. I should note also that earlier in a previous show, Becky Lynch had been cost a match by Maxine Dupree out of nowhere. No one was really entirely sure what Maxine Dupree was up to. Here she comes in to try and help Michin defeat Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer, but Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer win the match. Cora Jade then challenges Michin to a match at the Women's Tag Classic final after everything that's gone on between the two. So they will face each other in a one-on-one contest. The Powerhouse defeated Nia Jax and Candice LeRae to finish off a very good tournament for them. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Cross beat Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. After the match, because this was another situation where in the match, Bliss got concerned for Nikki Cross, and that opened the door for Rhea Ripley to pin Bliss. After the match, Charlotte Flair tells Alexa Bliss that she needs to decide what's more important to her, Nikki Cross or the tag team titles. Then we saw Damage Control defeat the Iconics to confirm themselves as the winners of Group B, and then the Kabuki Warriors did the same, defeating Natalia and Lash Legend in what was a very good main event here, a 63 rated match and a 64 rated match before that, and even a 65 rated match earlier in the night here. So some good matches on this one. And that is the end of that tour, and this was the end of the way everything finished in terms of the groups. You can see Kabuki Warriors win their group by 1 point over Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer. Meanwhile, Io Sky and Dakota Kai got 6 wins from 7 matches, 18 points, and they are the winners of their group by 3 points over the chasing pack. So that took me a while to go through, and I've learned some lessons in terms of how I'm going to try and do that in the future. But it wasn't the most professional I've been, as I say. There was a lot to organise, and there's still more to bring you because I need to talk about a load of business that happened before the Women's Tag Classic final. So the first one was that JC Mateo had been identified as a soft drug user by the WWE wellness policy in the game, I should hasten to add. So we had to fine him for that. Paul Heyman apparently has it in for AJ Styles and is causing people to dislike him. I don't really know why that has come about, but for whatever reason, Paul Heyman is causing problems backstage. As we said before, Roxanne Perez suffered a dislocated elbow on day one of the tour, so there was some heat on Lash Legend for causing it, and she's yet to, I think, overcome that injury. Jordan Grace and Lash Legend have been called up, and they were in the tournament, as you saw. Io Sky signed a new 3-year deal with the company. Her contract was coming up, and we secured her services for an additional 3 years. We've had a request from Obafemi to be called up to the main roster. Let me know if you think he should be. I mean, certainly given his recent performances in reality, he seems like someone that would be a good prospect to add to the main roster. There are 2 wrestlers who will be leaving us very shortly. In fact, their contracts are nearly done. The first of those, some might be surprised to see, is Tommaso Ciampa. So just like in real life, when just recently, of course, he left WWE and signed for AEW, Tommaso Ciampa is going to be released by us. I just didn't see necessarily the worth in keeping him, especially as we've got the owner goal that we discussed previously, where we need to have less wrestlers on the roster. The other person is Elton Prince. He is currently out injured with a broken arm. He's going to be out for 6 more months, and I just thought I'm not really certain I want to keep him anyway. So we're going to allow his contracts to expire. So both of those, when their contracts are up, will not be with the company. Equally, there is somebody that we've discussed a few times on the show that I finally decided it was time to let go of, and that person is Brock Lesnar. No longer with the company. We released him. We did get some pushback from both The Undertaker and Paul and Heyman. They were unhappy that Lesnar was released, but we paid them off with some bonuses, and they're not so much of an issue now. And finally, Charlotte Flair started causing rifts for some reason with Becky Lynch. I mean, they don't like each other in the game. The game have just decided these two do not like each other. So that's why that's happening. And hopefully that doesn't become a big problem, in addition to what we've already got with Paul Heyman having it in for AJ Styles. So that is the roundup of everything. This has taken me way longer than I expected it to, so apologies for that. But now, in just a moment, on the other side of this quick cut, we will bring you the Women's Tag Classic final show. Okay, so we're here then for the Women's Tag Classic Final 2026 in front of 12,000 people in Saskatchewan. And we begin with this match between Tiffany Stratton and B-Fab, where Tiffany Stratton wins in 7:45 by pinfall with a reverse STO. Segment rating here of 42. B-Fab has just been losing loads of matches, and that was the whole story really here, was that these two were in the Tag Classic obviously together. I don't think they won a single match, and certainly they really lost most of their matches. And Stratton at the end of the tournament basically dumped B-Fab and said, "Look, you're no good to me." And then Stratton's beating her here. So I mean, maybe this means that I'm not really looking for much to do with B-Fab. We will see. But a first victory of the night, it goes to Tiffany Stratton. Then in the next match, we have the Powerhouse versus the Green Machine. The Green Regime, I should say. I've been calling them the Machine, and I realised that that's wrong. It's the Regime. In a terrible match, the Green Regime actually defeated the Powerhouse in 8:45 when Chelsea Green pinned Ivy Nile with a Van Prittier, following interference from Tiffany Stratton, who just obviously won the previous match. This was a good victory for the Green Regime, especially as the Powerhouse have been really good in the Tag Classic. But these two teams going up against each other as a sort of additional bout on this main show. Jordan Grace, of course, is carrying an injury at the moment, so that meant she wasn't as up as she normally would be. And all in all, performance is okay, ranging from okay to decent, just about passable. But Tiffany Stratton is the X factor, and she comes in and helps the Green Regime win, a segment rating of 46. And after the match, Tiffany Stratton says that we have got a new faction. She basically says that she has teamed up with Alba Fyre and Chelsea Green, and they will now be working together going forward. And she says that they will take over the WWE. So basically, another faction that's being created here: Tiffany Stratton, Alba Fyre, and Chelsea Green together, following her helping Chelsea Green and Alba Fyre win their last match. Not a great segment here, but nevertheless, we have set up another faction. The next match we have was Cora Jade versus Michin. Obviously, these two have been in a feud pretty much the entire tour, ever since Roxanne Perez got injured and Michin had to be drafted in as a replacement. And since that point, Cora Jade and Michin just have not worked as a team whatsoever. They've been unable to get their kind of coordination together. Segment rating of 43, with Michin getting the victory in 10 minutes and 4 seconds by pinfall with a roll up. Michin had an in ring performance of 45, Cora Jade of 35. She has been going through personal issues, which has affected her performance throughout the tour since we signed her. But anyway, Michin gets the victory in this one. Then, after the match, Roxanne Perez tells Michin that she will pay. Once Roxanne is able to get back to full fitness, she will get her revenge on Michin for everything that she's done to cost her and Cora Jade what they felt would be some real success in the Tag Classic. Segment rating here of 40, as this one obviously continues in this way. Then we have Nia Jax versus AJ Lee. Obviously, AJ Lee was taking Nia Jax up on the open challenge, and she obviously made that clear during the tour. And so this match was kind of booked in. Jax defeated AJ Lee in 13 minutes and 15 seconds by pinfall with a standing leg drop. And during the match, we also had Candice LeRae run in and attack AJ to sort of help Jax throughout the match. AJ Lee had an in-ring performance of 53, Nia Jax of 45. The crowd heat at the end of this disinterested, which is a real shame. Second rating was actually 52, which wasn't bad. And Nia Jax has now had another big victory in 2 months, in a row. But her in performance is not going up as I would like it to, and I'd hope that would happen as a consequence of popularity increases. Maybe that will, but we just need to take our time with this. The next match was for the United States title, Julia defending against Bayley. I put this in really because we needed the US title to be defended. It hadn't been defended since the game start, and this was Julia's fourth defense overall of that title. She beat Bayley in 12 minutes and 18 seconds by submission. Julia had a 55 in-ring performance, Bayley a 61, so both really good performers, and that's why this got a 64 segment rating. Next, we had a first of a number of big matches. This is for the tag team titles. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair defeated Becky Lynch and Stephanie Vaquer in 14:47 when Charlotte Flair pinned Becky Lynch following interference from Maxine Dupree. The nature of the relationship between Charlotte Flair and Maxine Dupree is not yet being established. Bliss and Flair make their fifth defense of the title. You can see Becky Lynch was the best wrestler in the match with a 73, Charlotte Flair at a 63, Vaquer at 55, and Bliss at 51. Segment rating is 63 here, as this match continued the feud between Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, in addition, obviously, to being for the tag team titles. Then we had a match for the number one contendership to the WWE Women's World Title. It saw Rhea Ripley take on Liv Morgan, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill. In 16:48, Rhea Ripley gets the victory over Liv Morgan with a riptide. She was the best performer in the match. Jade Cargill, the weakest. Rhea Ripley, you can see here, 73. Bianca Belair, 60. Liv Morgan at 58, and Jade Cargill at 47. Um, I keep getting this message about Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez being a poor combination. I just need to remove Raquel Rodriguez from being at ringside for Morgan's matches. Segment rating is 63 overall, but the crowd just are disinterested and have been through much of this show because the quality at the beginning of the show just wasn't up to much. And Rhea Ripley gets the win here. She will face Stephanie Vaquer at WrestleMania. That will be the main event of the women's show, the Saturday show for WrestleMania. And I just did this because, look, Rhea Ripley has shown that she is easily the most popular, best in-ring performer at the moment in this company, or at least one of them. And it just made sense to get her into the position that she will now be in for that match. Afterwards, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill have another argument over who was to blame for the fact that neither of them came out of this as the number one contender. This got a segment rating of 61. Not bad at all, as Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill are, as you might imagine, heading for something at WrestleMania by the looks of things. And then we had the final of the Women's Tag Team Classic. It was Kabuki Warriors versus Damage Control, a match that went 18 minutes, 19 seconds, and was won by Asuka when she pinned Dakota Kai with an elevated insane elbow. The Kabuki Warriors win the Women's Tag Team Classic. Dakota Kai was a bit of a weak link in this one, and actually I was really disappointed with this. A segment rating of 58. I was hoping for much more. Because both teams have got great chemistry. Both have been performing really well over the course of the tournament. But for whatever reason, this just didn't hit the same heights. A segment rating of 58 is a disappointment in terms of the main event. Then after the match, we see Asuka and Kairi Sane approach Dakota Kai and Io Sky. They shake hands, they hug, and they hold each other's arms aloft after the match for a segment rating of 67 and potentially signifying the reconciliation of the entirety of Damage Control. Still to be confirmed, but that would appear to be what has happened at the end of this main event. And that's the end of the show. Not a particularly good show. Lost its popularity in 57 regions. That is happening to us. We just are not hitting the heights that we need to be hitting. Certainly with the women, but even with the men at the moment, there appears to be more chance we will hit the heights we need to hit with the men, in terms of the performances that are coming forth thus far. And I think, look, it's just going to take us some time to get us to a point where, first of all, I'm comfortable in terms of knowing where I want everything to be. Like, obviously, people have got titles that I don't really want them to have. There are more titles than I want there to be, and so I just need to. I'm trying to kind of bring all the pieces together and place them in the positions I want to go forward. But also, in addition to that, then help their popularity move up and get a little bit of clarity about who is capable of performing at the very main event end of this company and who perhaps is not at this point. So we've lost popularity in 57 regions due to the overall rating of 53, and the general feeling is still that WWE don't have enough storylines rated hot or above going on, sorry, and that is again true. And I think it's really hard actually to achieve that in this game. But again, that is going to be improved as we go through when wrestlers' popularity start to move up, and in general, our roster improves. So that is the end of today's episode. Thank you very much for joining me for this. Apologies for some of the kind of tripping over my words as we went through this one. Just not on top form today, but yeah, a show that was a little bit disappointing. We had some good matches. There were 2 really good matches actually in there. In fact, 3 really good matches. Julia versus Bailey was an excellent match. It's just that the main event didn't deliver as I'd hoped it would. But we'll be back again next week with the next episode. Thanks for watching.